The moment of truth has arrived.
How you doing, Giuca? How's it going?
All right, man.
How's everything?
Good to see you.
You too, you too. How you been?
Been good. I wish we were seeing each other under different circumstances, of course.
Yeah,
but
me too. I was just gonna say the same thing.
And as the camera crew sets up, I chat with my childhood friend, John Giuca, now known as the Grid Kid Killer, about all the old times and play catch-up.
I think I told you over the phone we got married.
Yeah, congratulations.
Coming up on the 3-year anniversary.
Wow.
Then we get down to just what landed him in this joint.
I'm in prison because I had a party, really. There's so many nights I go back and I think, if I just wouldn't have had a party that night, I wouldn't be here.
There were about 15 guests at that party at John's Brooklyn home while his parents were out of town. Most of them were a close group of neighborhood friends who called themselves the Ghetto Mafia. But one of them was a stranger, Mark Fisher, who accompanied a college classmate named Angel DiPietro. And several hours after the party ended, Fisher, a strapping football star, was found lying dead in a driveway 3 blocks away at 6:40 a.m. with 5 bullets sprayed into his face and chest.
Did you murder Mark Fisher?
No, I had nothing to do with this crime. I did not murder Mark Fisher. I had nothing to do. All I did was have a party. All I did was have a party that night, and now I'm in prison for 25 to life for something I didn't do.
John claims he was at home asleep at the time of the murder, and that the last he saw Fisher was when he gave him a blanket and let him sleep on a couch.
I had nothing to do with his death. So, when that day comes, I'll be able to prove that.
The prosecution painted you as a leader in this violent gang.
Right.
The assistant district attorney called you a self-styled mafioso and Tony Soprano wannabe.
Right.
What was Ghetto Mafia?
Ghetto Mafia was not what the prosecutors portrayed it to be. I mean, you know that, You were around these kids and, we were a bunch of kids hanging out. We were young kids, and between having different names for each other or just the neighbors having different names for us, we were called 100 different things throughout our childhood. The prosecutors took one of those names and made it into something that it wasn't. They totally blew this Ghetto Mafia stuff out of proportion and embellished and to beef up their case.
That's not all they did.
4 people testified against me. 3 of them recanted their statements and now admit that they lied and were coerced and threatened into lying. And the other person is thoroughly discredited.
Among them was John's girlfriend, Lauren Calciano, who testified Giuca said Antonio Russo planned to rob Mark Fisher and asked Giuca for a gun.
What was that like during the trial to have your high school sweetheart, he's just my good friend too,
Yeah.
someone you trusted and cared for? I mean, what was it like to have her testify against you?
It was devastating, and especially me knowing that she wasn't telling the truth. It was just like, how can you do this to me and why would you do this to me? I come to find out years later the amount of pressure that was put on her in order to make her get up there on the stand and say things that weren't true. And, I'm glad that she had the courage to finally come forward and tell the truth.
Another recanter was career criminal John Avito, who testified as the prosecution's star witness to avoid being sent back to prison on a drug violation. He said he heard John confess when they were in jail together to ordering Fisher's murder.
He says the reason why he recanted was because he was racked with guilt for being instrumental in putting you behind bars. I want you to comment on that.
I said to myself, wow, there is a God. And, I'm just so happy that they had the courage to do this,
The only witness not to recant was Albert Cleary, who testified John told him he had given Antonio Russo a gun and ordered him to kill Fisher for disrespecting him by sitting on a glass table at the party.
Does Albert know more than he's letting on?
I think so. Yeah. Otherwise, why would he lie about me?
It is a lie. according to Tommy Soleil, an old friend John and I both grew up with. In fact, Tommy says it was him, not John, who told Fisher to get off the table.
And I even told detectives, like, John didn't even say nothing to him about the table. You know, I can't even remember if he even was there when I said it. You know, but I'm the one who said to him, just, you know, pull up a chair, don't sit on the table. That's all.
And so it was without incident?
Like, zero incident. He said, okay.
And John says he can't even remember the glass table incident.
You wanted someone dead because some kid sat on a table?
It's sick and twisted, I know. And the prosecutor had 4 different theories, contradictory theories about what took place that night. And, you know, they were just trying to do whatever it takes to get a conviction.
But the plot thickens. Cleary had left the party with Angel DiPietro, who brought Fisher. Angel and Cleary say they went to Cleary's house to sleep. And Cleary's house was just 50 feet from where Fisher's bullet-riddled body had been dumped, covered with the same blanket John had given him. But Albert Cleary and his family told police they heard nothing, even though they were less than 17 yards away.
Not only did he change his story 3 or 4 times, but he got caught in numerous lies, and the body was found 50 feet away from his house. So, I mean, initially he's a suspect, turned into the centerpiece of the prosecution's case. I mean, how does that happen, right? You know?
Despite that suspicion, a lack of any forensic evidence linking John to the crime, no murder weapon found, and the recanting of principal witness testimony, John has so far had 11 appeals for a new trial denied. But he still has someone very special in his corner.
And I said, I'm going to be here for him, and I'm going to fight, and I'm going to be strong. I'm going to be his voice.